Good morning, South Central Montana. It's 6 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Wednesday, May 8th, 2019, 41 degrees outside. My co-host, Shane Matavin, on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia, and half man, half amazing. How you doing, man?
I'm half amazing today.
You're half. You're half something. Yeah, it's the left half, the right half. We don't know which.
Yeah.
We don't know which it is. So
It's not always a full day, but today I'm 50% there.
Okay, good. Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor in the house. Welcome you to the KMMS Morning Soapbox. We're here every day with Tom and Shane from 6 to 9 a.m. So if you want to be a part of the big broadcast, it's real easy. Give us a call, 522-TALK, 522-8255. Or you can text us at 478-8298. Or we also have a new message system that on your cell phone, your smartphone, AM 1450 KMMS. Get over there, and right next to the Listen to Us Live, you'll see a button that says Message Us. And punch that button, and you can immediately ship a message right over to us. So lots of easy ways you can get a hold of us and give your thoughts. So if you don't want to be on the air, just text us, and we'll be happy to entertain your thoughts. If it's something not for air, just put NFA, not for air, in front of it, and Shane and I will share it offline with each other. So there you go. Well, let's take a quick look at our Gallatin Valley weather for the area. We're looking at 53 for a high today, 34 the overnight low. We had some rain this morning. That's kind of tapering off a little bit, but it will start up probably again in the 9 to 10 o'clock tonight, overnight, and might actually turn into a little snow overnight. We'll have to see how that plays out, but 52 will be the high tomorrow. We've got AM snow showers predicted, no real amount. 29 will be the overnight low, and then we move into warmer weather and no precip. Friday, 62 degrees, the low 37, partly cloudy. 68 on Saturday, 40 will be the overnight low. Mostly sunny on Saturday, and then on Sunday, 74 degrees. Wow. And partly cloudy, low of 43. Wow. 72 on Monday, 70 on Tuesday. And so the whole weekend and moving into next week, as we move into mid-May, rather, seems to be pretty nice out there. So temperatures around the area right now, Livingston is 42 degrees, Manhattan is 43, Three Forks is 45. Gallatin Gateway is 40, Ennis is 41, Gardner is 40, Big Sky is 34, and at the airport in Belgrade, it is 42 degrees right now, and at our downtown studios, we're right at 41 degrees at 9 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m., so looks like a pretty good week shaping up, Shane.
Yes, indeed. It is always a good week in spring.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Especially if you get some sun on your face like I'm getting.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you in the 70s out there, you're going to have to get out there and, get the lawn chair out and the adult beverage and kind of sit out there and cool your heels and get a little color in your cheeks.
Yeah, it looks like a human being again.
Yeah, there you go. Well, this day in history, guess what happened, Shane? 1541. We all remember that year, right? 1541?
Oh,
yeah.
Not too long ago.
No, that's right. Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto, he invented the De Soto automobile that didn't last, of course.
He did.
And he reached the Mississippi River. If he had had the car, he'd have gone further.
He would have found that giant highway system and traveled a long way.
Yeah, that bridge to nowhere, maybe. Anyway,
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, he was born October 27th, 1495. So he was born 3 years after Columbus. It's
wow.
Young guy.
Yeah.
Young guy. Most noted as a conquistador from Spain, obviously.
Right.
And was involved in expeditions in Nicaragua and the Yucatan Peninsula. But his primary fame was the conquest of the Incan Empire in Peru and discovering gold because he couldn't find another route to the east, to China. So he went up the Mississippi River trying to think that he might find it there, didn't do so well, died in 1542 on the banks of the Mississippi River.
Wow.
And he was 46 years old. So
wow, that's bad. Yeah.
Did a lot of wandering around to no avail other than finding a lot of gold.
Yeah.
For Spain. of
Yeah.
course. He was
And,
Castilian. He was Castilian steel.
and found the Mississippi River, too. So,
Yeah, yeah, there
yeah.
you go.
I think other people found it before him, but he
Yeah,
found it.
yeah, that's right.
1794, Antoine Lavoisier, the father of modern chemistry, was executed on the guillotine during during France's reign of terror.
Yeah, and
And they were doing a lot of guillotining back then,
yeah,
weren't
they
they?
were doing that. Yeah, I'll mention that at the end. But being the father of modern chemistry meant that he was the first to recognize the name oxygen. Boy, we're early.
Yeah.
1778 and hydrogen in 1783, and make a determination of both. He basically replaced the what was a phlogiston theory, which contained the idea that combustion. Combustible bodies released different gases and that they didn't really recognize that they existed naturally. But one of the things that he did do that I have to appreciate, he created and constructed the metric system. And he wrote the first list of the elements for the table, the
Atomic table.
yes, exactly. And he predicted the existence of silicon, which is the most abundant mineral in the world, rock in the world, and first to establish sulfur. So big win there. He got guillotined because he was a member of the aristocratic council during the Louis Age as a ferme général, which means he went around and collected taxes for the king, and he was charged with tax fraud and selling adulterated tobacco. Wow, adulterated tobacco.
Wow.
I don't know. Anyways, that's what he's guillotined for. So there you go.
Okay. In 1846, the first major battle of the Mexican War was fought at Palo Alto, Texas, resulting in victory for General Zachary Taylor's forces.
That's right. And as a result of the War of 1812, the Black Hawk War, he was a colonel in 1832. And the Second Samoa War, which he was involved in, got the nickname Old Rough and Ready. Wow. After the annexation of Texas in 1845, James Polk sent him to the Rio Grande, where he incurred the Mexicans in the first Mexican-American War, broke out in 1846, as you mentioned. And the big battles, Mariano Arista, the battles, he beat Mariano Arista of the Mexican army at the Battle of Palo Alto. And several other battles chased, Santa Anna out of the U.S. In the Battle of Buena Vista in Mexico, he defeated him significantly, which is why Santa Anna came back. And he was drafted by the Whig Party. I was on the ticket in 1848. Didn't last very long, and James K. Polk took over for him after he had died after 16 months in office, never being able to solve the issue of slavery. And it's an interesting presidency in what he was dealing with and tried to resolve, but he passed away before he could do anything. So there you go.
Poor baby. Well, in 1886, we all thank Atlanta pharmacist John Stith Pemberton. He invented the flavor syrup for Coca-Cola.
Yes, and interesting story. He was involved in one of the Indian Wars, received a serious wound, became addicted to morphine as a painkiller. So when he returned to his pharmacy in Knoxville, Georgia, he started, working on different types of formulas, and he actually went through a lot of effort to come up with the name of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
He ran into a lot of problems with the Georgian government because of the amount of, let's say, unsolicited drugs that he put in his painkillers that were meant to replace morphine and help people, because there's so many people that were addicted to it. The first name was Pemberton's French Wine Coca. Anyway,
Okay.
he died broke. And
I wonder why that didn't work.
yeah, he died broke basically, and he wanted to leave some of it to his son, but his son said no. So they sold it the rights to it to a friend of his, another pharmacist, for $1,750, or the equivalent about $17,000 today.
Wow. All right.
Yes. There you go.
1944, the first eye bank was established in New York City, and that was a big deal back then because a lot of people were blinded by various accidents and things like that, and people could donate their eyes and corneas and all that, and pretty nice deal.
And the reason why is the eye is an organ unto its own in the body, and it is the fastest healing organ of the body, and eye bank recovery started as a result of cornea transplants that were successful in 1905.
I know, yeah. That's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, this was founded in 1944. Currently, the United States eye banks provide tissue for 80,000 cornea transplants each year to treat all kinds of different conditions, particularly scarring. And their bank is so good. They export it as a product around the world, and so it's amazing. 1905, they started operating on people's eyeballs.
I know. Ouch.
Ouch.
I don't even want to think about it.
No, it's one of those things you don't scratch your eye, you scratch your head.
That's
Ooh.
right. No, I'd much rather listen to Montana News and Agriculture and some other things. So let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Thanks to all our truck drivers, our farmers, our ranchers, our cab drivers, everybody that brings us food, clothing, and booze. Thanks for that. So we'll be right back. Well, I guess I screwed that up badly, huh? 19 minutes after the hour. No stock report this morning because I hit the button twice and then I killed it. Or killed the wrong one. So anyway, I apologize for that. So I don't know. Well, you'll just have to. Farm prices kept right on going. So there you are. whatever's going on there, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, food commodities are alive and well.
That's right.
In North.
That's right. You're doing fine. So I guess I don't know, man. The farmers are.
We'll cover it later. We'll cover.
Yeah, we're going to cover the tariffs and everything later on as we go by. But right now, on this date in 1945, President Harry S. Truman announced in a radio address that World War II had ended in Europe.
Huge success for the Allied forces in the Western Hemisphere.
Yep.
And great celebrating. Everybody does it well. Famous pictures in New York Central, New York City.
Yeah.
And it's still some kind of a controversy of whether he should have done that or not, with the hashtag, Me Too movement. But
right, yeah.
Anyway, the loving couple kissed there, and it was a picture seen around the world.
Yeah. Well, I think it was loving strangers kissed, but that was okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in 1958, Vice President Richard Nixon was shoved, stoned, booed, and spat upon by anti-American protesters in Lima, Peru. Wow.
Yeah, and that
what a guy.
This was a run-up because of the revolution in Cuba, and Che Guevara, of course, had left Cuba and gone to Central America to incite revolution of the dictatorships down there and everything. And Nixon, being a vice president of Eisenhower, thought he'd be well received, and well, folks, he wasn't well received at all.
No, he wasn't. Yeah. 1968, on this day, Jim Catfish Hunter of the Oakland Athletics pitched a perfect game against the Minnesota Twins in Oakland. Big day for them, and we just had a no-hitter the other day, I think.
Last night, yeah.
Yeah, last night, yeah.
Yeah, so he got in the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1987.
Yeah.
And he lived to 53. He died in 1999, September 9th. Most famous for moving around the league. He pitched for the Kansas City Athletes, Oakland Athletes, New York Yankees. First pitcher since 1915 to win 200 career games by the age of 31. And he was often referred to as baseball's first big money free agent.
Mm-hmm.
He was a member of 5 World Series championship teams. So that's a big accomplishment.
That
in a
is a pretty
lifetime.
big accomplishment, yeah. Well,
Fun guy.
in 1970, construction workers broke up an anti-war protest on New York City's Wall Street. So construction workers, I guess, had enough of the hippies and the protesters and said, "Hey, we got we got skill saws, hammers, and jackhammers. Let's go in this thing."
Yeah, we by the way, we want to go back to work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we can't take the stupid protesting all the time. So. Good kudos to them, I guess, for whatever.
That's right.
1970, also the album "Let It Be" by the Beatles was released, and that was a big deal at the time.
Especially with their tour of the United States. Wow,
Yeah.
what I mean that set it all off. Not just the music of the generation,
Yeah.
but the whole concept of concerts and remember them on TV during the Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I remember it. And, wow, that was great.
I gotta say, the whole world tuned into that, and it was really, it was really the first of the boy bands. Now the boy bands, most people don't even know who they are half the time.
Yeah. and they're one or two hit wonders. These guys wrote albums.
Oh, they had amazing body of work and songs and various. I mean, they changed music dramatically. With trying all kinds of different harmonies and tempos and all kinds of things. So it was quite an issue. Everybody was certainly waiting for them for every new song, every new album, and they never disappointed. I can't think of a bad album they put out. They were
the Beethoven of their. The Beethoven of their generation. They'll be listened to for 500 years from now. Amazing.
For sure. Well, in 1973, militant American Indians who held the South Dakota hamlet of Wounded Knee for 10 weeks surrendered, and Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, I think, was a book, movie, something, whatever.
Oh,
something
yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
And it reflected the Wounded Knee Massacre, which was on December 29th, 1890 near Wounded Knee Creek, on Lakota Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Not far from where you are, Tom.
That's right. Not far away. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, 1978 on this date, David Berkowitz pleaded guilty in Brooklyn to the Son of Sam killings.
Scary thought, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that
was a scary guy. He was a very scary guy. Yeah, I got him for a parking ticket.
I know, of all things.
Of all things, the police can make 1,000 mistakes, but the killer can only make one, And
that's right.
And there it was. Yeah, got him for a parking ticket. Recognized the car or the description of the car, I guess, or whatever from previous things, and one thing led to another, and bam, David went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 1987, Gary Hart, dogged by questions about his personal life, withdrew from the race for the Democratic presidential nomination. Of course, he and Rice, what was her first name?
Susan
Rice, yeah. Yeah, said, go ahead, follow me around. And they did. Yeah, and they found him on his boat named Monkey Business with Rice.
Yeah.
Sharon Rice, wasn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, anyway. Sharon Rice. Yeah. But the amazing thing is, he probably had a good shot at the nomination. And
he did, yeah. He was a good-looking guy, He's, at that time, they were, ever since Kennedy, they've been looking for another Kennedy. And he was certainly fit the bill, young and energetic and whatever, but he was first victim of personal destruction in the political process, and they did it quickly. Wow. Yeah, they did. Yeah. He dared them. Follow me around, and they did.
Yeah,
and they caught him.
And they caught him.
Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. 522-8255. Calling you on the air. What's going on?
This is Aaron. How you guys doing?
Hi, Aaron. How are you?
Hi. Good morning.
Oh, how you doing, Shane?
Always good, buddy.
That's good. That's awesome, man. It's always nice to hear our northern neighbors doing well. So I told everybody that I got my boat from the president.
Yeah.
And that's great. I got some ridicule for that.
I know some people didn't believe that. We got a text, I think, yesterday that said, I don't know the rich paid for it or so. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I went out and made that money, and
you paid your taxes and did your return, and you got the refund, and bam, there's the boat.
I didn't get a refund.
Oh, okay.
No, I pay my taxes at the end of the year, but
yeah,
with the amount that I didn't have to pay.
Okay.
Then that boat was there.
So your profit was there then.
Well, no, I mean, typically my taxes are X, and then this year they were less than X.
All right.
Right. So so what I want to talk to you about, Tom and Shane, is the perception of the left and the right. So I look at that as I paid completely for that boat, 100%, because it was my labor that got me that money, and the government didn't take it from me, and I put that money towards something that I wanted.
Absolutely.
And the left looks at it like, well, that money all belongs to the government, and you labor, and the government tells you how much you get to keep, and if you don't, and it's still their money. So I don't get that whole that other people are paying for my boat.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
You know, if you look at Pelosi, you had a choice between a boat, which you're happy with, or a dump truck of breadcrumbs dumped on your driveway.
Yeah.
Right. It's amazing that the left thinks that all the money belongs. Like, if you don't give $1 to the government, it's going to cost somebody else that dollar.
That's true.
It's just not. That's just not the way that it works.
It doesn't work that way at all. Hey, I'm up against the bottom of the hour. I got to go, but hey, thanks for the call. All right.
Bye-bye.
Good point. Yeah, we'll be back. We've got Montana State News. We got Fox News. We got Brooke Foster Weather. We got Culling of Water, Buffalo Restoration. We got the Bobcats, Bozeman Auto Body. Holy smokes. We got a lot of folks here. So stay tuned. There may be a test afterwards. So we'll be right back. 23 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Wednesday, May 8th, 2019. 41 degrees outside. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And Shane, the city and county are at it again.
They got to keep busy. Got to do so.
Oh man, I don't know. Well, I don't blame the county for this one. Cindy Andros, the mayor, says we cannot continue at odds with each other. We have to be able to communicate. We have to be able to have conversation with each other, even if it's difficult issues. And this hinges, well, what they want to do is they want to get together and discuss a list of topics, including upcoming elections and a future tax district and, things like that. But the problem is, or at least one of the problems is, and we've talked about it on the air with Jeff Krause, is that the county agreed to stay out of the election when they put up the city safety building. Yes. So the county said, okay, we won't do our Law and Justice Center. You go ahead and do your safety building and get that baby on the ballot. And that passed. So the city's happy. They got a safety building that we have to pay for, along with the new high school and a couple other things. So anyway, this time around, the county says, well, we're going to put our Law and Justice Center on the ballot. And the city says, oh, well, we're going to stick a tax, park tax in there, too. Park district tax in there that we said we weren't going to do to you. So having this bond issue and then the, Bozeman for this park tax thing. And the county commission was clear they would not put anything on the ballot in 2018 that would have competed with the city's safety center project. And they would appreciate the same consideration as they tried to get approval for the Law and Justice Center.
Exactly.
Yeah, and second on the list of discussion items was the sunset for Bozeman's tourism district improvement district. The district is a voluntary bed tax for Bozeman hotels, and the revenue goes into efforts to get visitors to spend money in Bozeman.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chamber of Commerce president, Daryl Slim, said who is also the district chair, said the city administration district would bring in about $1.1 million a year. So as the district is due to sunset in September, the chamber has a new plan to expand it to hotels outside of Bozeman and include places like Belgrade and potentially Three Forks and Big Sky. I'm not sure how they can do things outside the city without those cities have okaying it. But anyway, he said it would be ideally put the new district reins in county hands, something county leaders have said they're willing to take. And third, the city wanted to talk about the progress of the Planning Coordinating Committee, a group of leaders from Belgrade, Gallatin County, and Bozeman, preparing for the area's future. Andrus said part of the reason for the list is because the past Gallatin County leaders have said they want an agenda in order to meet. She said if county officials have other items on their mind we're talking about, they could reach out to the city. So that's the rub, Shane. They don't like each other very much, and they've
you think?
reneged on some deals, and they're not very happy with each other at the moment. So
Yeah, there you go.
that's where they are. So apparently there's not going to be any meeting anytime soon, and I guess we'll see if they can get their sandbox together and decide who gets the swings and who gets the sandbox, and we'll see how that plays out. So I don't know. I'm meeting with the county commissioners here coming up on the 20th. I'm on the county salary commission, and so I'll be meeting with them, and we'll see if maybe we can get them on the air again sometime or other on some kind of a regular basis like we used to before. So anyway,
Yeah, there you go.
we'll try that.
That'll keep you busy.
That'll keep us busy. All right, we got to take another quick break. We'll be right back after these important words. 15 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, May 8, 2019, 42 degrees outside. We have a caller waiting on the line. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's going on?
Well, this is Clint.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd ever lived long enough to read an article that was a true article in the Range magazine about wolves.
I just pulled it up, actually, and yeah, I've
Okay.
got it in front of me.
Okay, well, here's what it says here on page 33. It says, wolf proponents are fond of saying there has never been a documented wolf attack on human in North America. This is not true. There have been at least 145 documented wolf attacks in North America, with 50 fatalities, 27 of those occurring in the last 20 years. Worldwide, there have been tens of thousands of documented wolf attacks on humans. Since 2000, there have been 363 wolf attacks on humans worldwide. Okay? It says right here in North America, there have been at least 145 documented wolf attacks in North America with 50 fatalities, 27 of those occurring in the last 20 years. And it also says here there was a school teacher, a geologist, if you read it up if you got it on your computer.
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, right now, I got two friends of mine that have land pretty close to some of mine over there on the Madison River, all right? And one of them is Maynard Flickema, and the other one is Melvin Visser. And Melvin has got a bunch of elk in his yard yesterday. We met at the coffee shop, okay? He has a friend of his that has a helicopter down there in Amsterdam, and they flew the Savannah Ridge. Now, if anybody knows where the Savannah Ridge is, it's when you enter the river coming on the North Road and you enter it, you go down there after you make the turn by the outhouses, go down there. All that there, clear to Gallatin Gateway, is the Savannah Ridge. There's 19 wolves in there. They counted with a helicopter. Now, there's something that really has bothered me here. Why isn't the wolf... You know, I think the wolf people that put them in there, including Bruce Babbitt, ought to be charged for murder. Yeah, really. You know, when they put them into the park, they've all come out of the park, and they got a guy that really thinks a lot of these wolves up there in the park. His name is Douglas Smith, and he thinks they're great. Well, they're not great. These are big timber wolves. They'll kill you. And I'm saying to people that want to go out in the forest, don't go out without a good gun. And this one geologist was killed that had a gun. Okay, now, I never thought I'd ever see anything like quite like this or read anything like this. And the guy that wrote the article is Chance Gowan. He shows the pictures in here of the wolves. He shows pictures what they've done to animals, cows and whatever. Mm-hmm. It shows all these pictures, and that's right here in our country. Now, Tom, mm-hmm. you and Shane, what do you think about going out into the woods now? It's documented, and nobody talks about it.
Yeah. Well, I personally don't go out in the woods because there are bears and wolves and snakes and every other damn thing out there that I don't need.
Well, it never did. It never did bother me, Tom and Shane. It never did. I've been all over this state in the woods prior to introduction of these big wolves, these tundra wolves. Mm-hmm. Okay, some of these are over 6 feet long.
They're big.
Yes.
They are big, huge. Dog-like animals, that's for sure. They're huge.
Well, there's 363 people around the world that's been attacked by these damn wolves. Mm-hmm. Now, why doesn't the people come out and say that? And I do think that Bruce Babbitt and all the environmentalists that introduced them into the park ought to be charged for the murder of these people.
Yeah. Well,
they killed them.
Yeah. Their standpoint is, Clint, and I don't know that it holds a whole lot of water, but they claim that the elk was decimating the vegetation, so thinning the elk herd with wolves have brought the park back to more beauty. It stopped drainage runoff, things like that, so it improved the rivers, and
it's a bunch of crap.
The list goes on and on. Their positions.
I know their
all that.
Yeah, I know their positions, and it's a bunch of crap.
But if you're a rancher and you make your living, with sheep or cattle or pigs or whatever. These wolves find out pretty quick that these domesticated cows and everything are pretty defenseless animals.
That they are.
Yeah.
Well, what about
the human kill? They're an easy kill, much easier than an elk or a deer or something like that. They got to chase down.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I would defy anybody to go up on that Savannah Ridge on the Madison River and take a walk up there.
Yeah.
I would defy it. I'll bet you $100 they'd kill you.
Yeah.
I would bet on it.
All right.
Well,
if you want to make $100, Clint's open. So
if you live to tell the tale,
yeah.
It's awful that they don't come out and say it, and you have to read it in a magazine. Mm-hmm. Facts, and Shane has brought it up probably too on the computer.
Yeah,
but it's like I said, they should be charged with murder. They would charge you and I, if we did something that caused a murder, we'd be charged.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think it's turnabout's fair play.
Yeah, if you want to look up the magazine, it's rangemagazine.com, and there's a link on their homepage to this article. So if you want to read the article, it's about 8 pages and pretty detailed. And from our text line, 478-8298, the wolves are there to protect us from Bigfoot. There you go, Clint. So
that's fine. I would rather have Bigfoot. He's probably more intelligent.
I was going to say, you can share some beef jerky and you'll be fine.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks. Just take a walk up into the forest. You know the trails that they have that go up into the forest?
Oh, yeah.
Better beware.
Amen.
Better beware.
A lot of people come here and they think, that these trails are somehow, we're some kind of a big petting zoo of some kind, and they just, they don't realize that these animals are wild animals and they will hurt you.
Well, that's right. Well, they got buffalo up in Canada where these wolves come from.
Yeah.
And they're around Fort McMurray there. There's a lot of buffalo.
Yeah.
And anyway, they kill them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was up there, and they're a dangerous animal in the woods, them and a bear. But a bear isn't as bad as these wolves could be, because these wolves will corner you
Yeah.
And when you're cornered, you've had it.
Yep. And they sometimes kill just for the fun of killing, too.
That's right.
So that's the other thing that ranchers and farmers, they'll just go out and, hey, there's a stray calf or a, slow-moving cow. Let's go. So.
Well, you can be armed and everything. Like this one guy, he was armed, and they got him anyway. He couldn't shoot fast enough.
Like I say, you got so many of them. They all come at you at once.
That's right. You've had it.
Yep.
But anyway, I wanted to say that because nobody ever talks about what the wolf does to the human being, and they deny that a human being has ever been killed by him.
Yeah.
And like I said, Babbitt and them ought to be charged with murder.
All right. Got to go.
You
all right. Hey, thanks for the call. All right. We'll be right back. Noxatril warning. It's the second commercial in this block. Act accordingly. We'll be right back. 2 minutes before the top of the hour, and, we'll be talking about the 5 things we need to know about Bozeman and 5 things we need to know, period, about the rest of the world. We kind of got sidetracked on the wolf issue here, but certainly an important issue, I think. Wolves have always been a topic here on talk radio in Montana for a number of years, and ever since they were reintroduced into Yellowstone Park.
Yeah, that's right.
So, good thing, bad thing, I don't know. But anyway, let's see, from our text line, I would rather spend a night in the woods with these wolves than 5 minutes in town with the liberals that brought them here. So there you are. That's a good one. Let's see. Guessing you didn't tell Shane and Clint how wrong they are about dumps taxes to Congress. Well, I don't know. I don't know that we're wrong. We haven't seen his taxes. They have been reporting he lost a ton of money over 10 years, and that's, with casinos closing and things like that. Investments don't always work out the way you think they will. And
But everybody that invested in gambling in New Jersey lost. I mean, Atlantic City collapsed for everybody, not just for Trump. I mean, every major casino corporation in the world got jammed on Atlantic City.
Yeah. Okay.
And the biggest reason that Democrats running the city 2 blocks in from the shore, you weren't safe. So the only place you were safe was on the boardwalk, and that kept a lot of people away.
Sure. Well, that's how it's done. So
yeah.
All right, we got to duck out of here, pay some bills and stuff like that. We come back, we'll talk more about things going on in Bozeman and also 5 things you need to know. And then Mike McCormick will join us at 8 o'clock. We'll be chatting with him about the markets. We've also got to talk about the tariffs, the China agreement, all kinds of stuff like that is on the horizon. So they've got till Friday midnight to come up with a deal, or Trump is going to impose a lot more tariffs on China, and that's going to not be good for them. So we'll see. All right, that does it for this hour. We'll be right back with more. Still got 2 full hours to go, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. It is 6 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m. It's Wednesday, May 8, 2019, 42 degrees outside. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. Shane Tobin on the line from Vancouver, British Columbia, half man, half amazing. And this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And we've got a caller waiting patiently on the line, Shane. So let's go to the phones. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
That's me, Mr. Patience.
Hey.
Mr. Patience.
There's a couple of things that Clint didn't mention there. The funds to reintroduce, I shouldn't use that term because it's incorrect. The funds to introduce these wolves into Montana was misappropriated out of Pittman Robinson fund, okay? So they didn't even have the money to do it, so they stole it. Secondly, the wolf that was eradicated in Montana was the timber wolf. The wolf that we got here that were brought back into the park is the gray wolf. Quite a bit larger than the timber wolf, okay? So what you have there, the problem with that is your government has introduced a non-indigenous species into the park. Now, Tom, if you go out and you catch a bunch of suckers or whatever out of one pond and go release them live in another pond, you're probably going to go to jail and pay a hefty fine. These people did exactly the same thing on a larger scale. Nothing happens. Nothing. And I'm telling you, if you did that with a fish or anything, you're going to jail. Okay? Now, the upside to reintroducing these wolves around here in Montana is they're probably less flatulent than cows. And maybe that's what they were thinking when they brought them over here. We'll get rid of the cows and the sheep, and we'll have less of a climate crisis, which is the new term for the enviros. It's not a climate change anymore, not anthropogenic global warming. It's a climate crisis, whatever reason that they can dream up next. And who knows what that will be.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, yeah, the way that was done was not right. And I went down when they had their little meeting here on this subject matter. I went down there and I signed up to speak, and I spoke, and I told them they broke the law. And you know what? Nobody denied it. Nobody denied that they were a non-indigenous species. Nobody denied that they misappropriated funds. But it doesn't matter. They don't care.
It's always easier to ask forgiveness than permission, you know.
Yeah, well, it is until the long arm of the law catches up with you.
Well, only if somebody brings it to court. That's the issue, you know. I mean,
well, I'm sure that it's been brought to court.
That's why we're still on the air. Nobody's brought us to court yet.
Oh, my God. You know what? I'm going to start saving my funnies. Maybe I'll sue you guys.
Well, yeah.
At that time, he made me hold too long. He made me let everybody else right on. He makes me sit there. I'm going to get him.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's what made Montana famous was its 3 S's, as we've said time and time again. Yeah. Shoot, shovel, and shut up.
Yeah.
Shoot, shovel, and shut up.
That was it. That's all you got to do.
Shoot and walk.
There you go, man.
Shoot and walk away.
All right. Thanks for the call.
The damn thing went off accidentally. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks for the call, Pete.
Guys.
Take care. All right. Well, there's some other stuff we got to talk about with the city. The Gallatin, the Gallatin school voters finally. They had their election yesterday, so they decided on the trustees and the tax measures and things like that. The unofficial results: Bozeman voters reelected 2 incumbent trustees, Andy Willett and challenger Gary McGrath, fell short with 2,500 votes to. Tanya Reinhardt had 7,300. Andy Willett had 6,600. And Gary McGowan fell short with 2,500. Bozeman voters passed the $115,000 a year tax increase to operate the schools with 62% of the vote. The $2 million a year 6-year building repair levy, that was the largest issue on any Gallatin school ballot, passed with 7% of the vote, 6,600 to 4,900 noes. And Bozeman or Belgrade electors elected 3 elementary trustees: Steve Garvett and Holly Murray and Dee Bentley, to 3-year terms. Runner-up candidate was Renee McNamore, and not enough votes for her. So we got our $2 million for take care of the schools. So there you go. Thanks. One more thing we got to pay for.
Does it tell you how many people voted and what the percentage of turnout was?
No. Well, it tells how many people voted, but for each candidate, but not. No percentages of what the. Let's see. The ballot passed for the $2 million passed 57% of the vote. So, but only 6,600, yeah. So,
only 6,600 people voted, yes. So there you go.
66 voted yes, 4,900 voted no. So we got 11,000 votes.
Probably another plurality vote, right? Like less than 50 or 60% of the people voted.
I would think so, yeah. In a school election, write-in ballot, probably yes. So. Well, rivers rose last month, then fell again when temperatures dropped, preserving a healthy amount of snow in the mountains that will start trickling downhill as the weather turns in the other direction. We're going to get some 70 degrees finally coming up here, and snowpacks in the Gallatin, Madison, Jefferson, and upper Yellowstone River basins remain above average. As for the beginning of May, according to the Natural Resources Conservation Services Water Supply and Outlook report. So the report said snow at low and middle elevations started to melt last month, but snow at elevations higher than 9,000 feet stayed put, leaving a reservoir of water that will start to move in the near future. So that's pretty good. We didn't have a lot of flooding this time around, Shane. We had some, certainly, but not like we've had in past years. So it's kind of good that the melting is slowing and, being a little more friendly to us, I guess.
Well, yeah, the great thing about it is, the waters of your rivers are the headwaters of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
And because they flow into the Missouri, the Great Missouri, and then into the Mississippi. And, it's an interesting story because if those explorers had turned left
yep.
on the Missouri, they would have found a broader run to the Rockies.
Yeah, there you are. Well, guess what? Another building.
Oh, here we go.
Put another building up here. Yeah. Developers filed plans for a mixed-use building on East Lamme, about 7,200 square feet, according to city documents. The three-story building would sit between North Black and Bozeman Avenues on Lamme. Plans call for a penthouse apartment for owners and a pair of two-bedroom short-term rentals on the second floor, a small parking garage and cafe space on the main level. And so they said the 40-foot tall structure is meant to have a contemporary feel with solar panels on the roof that will power the majority of the building. It will have concrete and stained wood on the storefront, something he said isn't seen as much in commercial architecture. So the owners listed on the City of Bozeman's development review application as Eric and Jamie Morris, the owners of pub bike tour company Gearbelly. The Chronicle, he didn't know why the Morrises were originally attracted to the property, though its proximity to downtown may have something to do with it. He said the reason he thinks the owners chose the work with venue architecture is because the firm has a knack for working on trickier projects. So I guess if they're going to have a garage in there and all of that, I guess that would be termed a trickier project, I guess. So, I don't know.
But the important thing, more jobs.
More jobs, absolutely. All right, Governor Bullock has signed a bill into law that lets Montana's 10 resort areas ask voters to raise their local option sales tax to fund infrastructure project. Gallatin County's resort areas, Big Sky and West Yellowstone, may bring the tax hike to voters because it could help them address their high levels of tourist traffic. This gives Big Sky and Yellowstone an important tool because they have small tax bases and few people, but huge infrastructure and capital needs due to all the tourists that come into the valley. And I would agree with that. I think obviously locals would pay the taxes too, but in the long run, you'd have better streets and, infrastructure and things like that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess, however you want to look at it. So
yeah, that's right.
All right. We got to take a break. When we come back, we've got to talk about who's leading in the Bozeman High School mascot race right after this. 19 minutes after the hour. It's Wednesday, May 8, 2019, 43 degrees outside. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Happy to be here with you today. If you want to be a part of the big broadcast, 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. And, well, the results are in. The number one choice for the high school mascot is the Raptors. The 22-member committee made up of parents, teachers, administrators, and students gave a unanimous thumbs up for for the top two choices in polls in both the community and the students. So
Well, as a Canadian, it's close to my heart because the NBA basketball team in Toronto is called the Raptors.
That's true. Yeah. There you are. Let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Call you on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Good morning, gentlemen. This is Nikisha.
Hi.
So I've heard it reported that Joe Biden said the first thing he's going to do if he were elected into the presidency would be to repeal the Trump tax cuts. You know, thinking about it, I'm like, no. I think the very first thing he's going to do, thinking about it, yeah, he's going to grab the nearest congresswoman from behind, start smelling her hair.
Well, that may be the first thing, yeah. Yeah, the tax the tax cut repeal is down the list of his Monday morning to do priorities, huh?
Yeah, definitely. You know, you had that caller. I think his name is Steve-O. You know,
right? Yeah,
naming him Touchy Feely Joe.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, but
yeah.
seriously, it is
grope
very,
and change.
Yeah, seriously, it's very disconcerting when there's already been no less than 8 women who have come forward and accused Joe Biden of either inappropriate sexual behavior, inappropriate touching, and yet his numbers keep rising. How can this be? It's like the Democrats want to forgive their own of just about anything.
Well, you could certainly make a choice that Donald Trump wasn't exactly hands off himself, you know.
Right, but those are again just allegations, and nothing's been proven.
Well, that's true. That was a lot of people came forward, but nobody brought the goods. So,
right, and
Shane, there wasn't that much film on Trump, but there's a lot on Biden.
That's right. Yeah.
Right, and Shane, what were you saying yesterday about Biden's son and business deals with China?
Well, yeah, Hunter Biden, you know, we talked about that yesterday. And the two things that we found so fascinating was, number one, that, you know, he took several million from Ukraine and was appointed to a board for $50,000 a month on a trip that he took with his father over there, threatening to get rid of the prosecutor who was investigating his son. And then then in 2013, he went on Air Force Two with his dad to Beijing and picked up $1 billion from the Chinese government for his private equity fund, which they increased to $1.5 billion. And then Obama decided to withdraw his nepotism complaint in the White House against Biden's son. So yeah, it's quite fascinating.
Yeah,
it'll be in the debates, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, even though there's been all this investigation into Trump, there hasn't been any charges of collusion. We know, there wasn't
That's
any.
right.
Yeah.
If there was, they would have charged him. They would have tried to nail him to the wall.
Sure.
But Biden, how can that not be collusion?
Of course it is.
Well, certainly think so. And as we were mentioning earlier, it doesn't matter until somebody brings it forward and puts it in front of a judge. So until that happens, I mean, it's a matter of fact. But until somebody points the finger and says, "Hey, this is not right," and we want a court to decide if there's criminal activity here, or undue influence, or something like that.
Exactly. And it's 10 times bigger than Uranium One and the $150 million the Clintons got for their foundation, right? I mean, at least they put it in a foundation. He's put it in an investment fund.
I was going to say, $1.5 billion is sitting on a board in China where he's got no experience in anything that they're doing. That's a little suspicious to me. I don't know.
Has no oil industry knowledge, and he's sitting on a board in Ukraine. Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
So, again, like I said, it seems like Democrats want to forgive their own, if anything, even high crimes and misdemeanors, like you mentioned with Hillary. But a conservative or Republican wanting to jaywalk, I mean, they want to impeach him for that.
Yeah, we want to see Hunter's tax returns.
That's right. And here's the other amazing thing. A guy named Peter Schweitzer. Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
He wrote a book in December 2013 called Secret Empires: How the American Political Class Hides Corruption and enriches families and friends. And this is in 2013. He wrote this book about all these money that Hunter Biden and others have. He wrote about other families. But nowhere in your media has anyone covered it. No journalists have investigated it. Not nobody. Even Fox doesn't talk about it that much.
Yeah.
Just a little side note, in the Constitution it talks about impeachment, and, you can be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors. And jaywalking is a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you are. Hey, thanks for the call. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Let's see if Joe Biden repeals from our text line. If Joe Biden repeals Trump's tax cuts, do I have to give my boat back? Let's see. Trump paid off women he had affairs with, but he's a good Christian man. Well, okay, I guess so. Let's see. Isn't she thinking of Joe Namath? Maybe. I don't know.
Let's all remember that the claims made by that woman, a Texas judge has ordered her to pay back the legal expenses of Trump up $350,000 because he threw their case out of court. So that wasn't even adjudicated. Adjudicated.
Adjudicated. Yeah.
Adjudicated. Thank you, good sir.
Yeah. Trump would have been charged with obstruction were he not president. Hundreds, Shane, hundreds of former federal prosecutors assert. And I wonder, did all hundreds see the info? Did they read the Mueller report? Have they seen the all of the info? I don't know.
They're all the Democrats that got into the skiff, at the Justice Department that only congressional members could and read it. The astounding thing about that is there's no, to go to the skiff, you have to check in, right?
Yeah.
Not a single Democrat has gone to the skiff to check in and read all the underlining documents.
Yeah.
So but they want it all. They want the whole thing released. I don't get it, Tom. I don't get it.
No, I don't either. I think the anvil or the door is going to be slammed shut if Mueller does testify.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I mean, he's either going to close this thing out, or I don't know.
Well, I
don't know what he can say. All he can say is I didn't find anything. And they can question him all day long about what he found. But, unless there's an indictment, I don't know that he has to tell them anything.
Well, Clapper on CNN yesterday admitted to spying.
Yeah.
He said, well, they're because they're, it's semantics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was an investigation.
Well,
human resource was sent into the campaign to check it out. And now they're justifying what they denied for 2 years and accused Trump of being crazy and incompetent and shouldn't be in the White House, because he's off the wall. And, and the bottom line is it's all true and it's coming out. This is all going to come out in the next 2-3 months. It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Not going to be good.
Well, we will certainly find out. When we come back, we'll be talking Trump's tax returns.
Yes.
And does the government have a right to see them? So we'll check on that. The New York Times seem to think so. But, maybe the Justice Department has other ideas. So we'll see what the law says and what you guys have to say. 522-TALK is the number. Or give us a text at 478-8298, and we'll be happy to entertain that as well. So, all right, we got Montana State News, Fox News, and Brooke Foster weather. We've got Dell. We've got credit repair. We've got everything coming up. So stay tuned. Mike McCormick will be in at 8 o'clock, and we'll be talking to him about the markets and all of that. So stay tuned. A lot more to come. 23 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, May 8th, 2019, 45 degrees outside. Shane Matavin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. And from our text line, I didn't know the Secretary of State has the authority to sell uranium. I learned so much from Fox News. Well, if you watch Fox News, you would know the Committee on Foreign Investments has 9 members: the Secretary of the Treasury, the State, Defense, Homeland Security, Commerce and Energy, the Attorney General, and representatives from 2 White House offices, the United States Trade Representative and the Office of Science and Technology. And the committee can't stop a sale from going through. It can only approve a sale. The president is the only one who can stop a sale if the committee or any one member recommends suspension or prohibition of the transaction, according to the guidelines issued by the Treasury Department in December of 2008, after the department adopted its final rule a month later. For this and other reasons, we have written that Trump is wrong to claim that Clinton gave away 20% of the uranium to the United States to Russia. Clinton could have objected, as could 8 other voting members, but that objection alone wouldn't have stopped the sale of the stake of uranium-1 to Rosatom. Only the president has the authority to suspend or prohibit a covered transaction. So you could.
Well, the great thing about this is, this was a transaction that Trump approved before the 2012 election, in which he told the now Prime Minister of Russia, wait till after this election, I'll be more flexible.
You're not talking about Trump. You're talking about Obama.
I'm sorry, Obama. My mistake. I apologize. Yeah.
Get it right. You're going to confuse people. It's early.
I want phone calls. Tom.
Well, apparently you're going to get them. Also from our text line, let's see, where are we here? It looks like, I guess we've got them all up to date for the moment. So, all right. So we're okay there. So Trump's tax returns, 5 things you need to know, Shane.
No biggie. I mean, everybody suffered it in Atlantic City. It still hasn't recovered. Lots of people tried to make it the Las Vegas of the East. It started out well, but then it collapsed because of lack of interest, and people just didn't feel safe going there. That really was a big deal. Yeah.
Well, and for the losses, of course, you could spread losses out over a number of years in tax jargon. Let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Good morning, gentlemen. AW here.
Hey, AW, how you doing? It was great to meet you at the Grand Tree, by the way. Thanks for being there.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I am just livid that the Democrats are trying to keep Donald Trump off the ballot in certain states. I think it's 22 states. I forget what it was. I was just scratching my head. I'm like, is that the only way you can defeat Donald Trump? Really? These people are scared stiff that he's going to win again.
Yeah.
Well, and it's voter suppression. I mean, this is the big argument. The Democrats accuse, racism. The Republicans don't want minorities to vote. And now they're preventing people to vote, like outright in your face, voter suppression. Like, it's unbelievable.
Well, I think...
and unconstitutional.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is there's 22 states that have said they will award their electoral votes to whoever wins the popular election. And if they get to 270, if they get enough states to 270 votes, then whoever gets the most votes would get the 270 from those states, regardless of who won in their state or who won overall. It would be strictly the popular vote.
Yeah, that's the way it is now.
They won't even let him on the ballot, though. They're like, when you go to vote, if Donald Trump's name is not even going to be there.
Well, I don't think you can keep him off the ballot.
They're trying.
No, but,
they may be trying.
What the caller's talking about is 12 legislatures in the 18 states that are blue Democrat. Have voted to keep him off the ballot if he doesn't show his income tax return.
Well, and that's not going to work because that's not a qualification for president. Under the Constitution, it'd be unconstitutional, and Supreme Court would throw that out in 5 seconds.
Exactly.
So I don't think that's an issue that that anybody needs to entertain or worry about.
Did you hear that one? Did you hear that one senator say, "We have to impeach him because I'm afraid he's going to win again"?
Well, we got to get rid of him in case he wins again. Jeez, that'd be bad news.
That's all I got.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. All right.
It's not on the 5 things you need to know, but this is huge. Ninth Circuit reversed itself yesterday and said that the Trump administration can send back asylum seekers to Mexico to wait for their hearing.
Really? So
apparently they don't want all these these migrants being sent by bus to their towns.
So they can wait. They can. Boy, the Tijuana mayor's going to love that.
Yeah, I tell you, Trump's figuring this game out fast.
Yeah. Well, Mnuchin says he's not going to give Trump's tax returns up, but according to an opinion piece in the New York Times from their editorial board, it says that Congress does have the right to see his returns, and so we'll see how that how that plays out. But the Secretary Steve Mnuchin, the Secretary on Monday, rebuffs just such a request from Representative Richard Neal, Ways and Means Committee, and they requested 6 years worth of tax returns for President Trump and several of his companies. The purpose of the request was not harassment of the president, as Mr. Trump and his defenders have branded efforts by Democratic House members to perform legitimate oversight functions. Rather, as Mr. Neal told the IRS, the committee is considering legislative proposals and conducting oversight related to our federal tax laws, including but not limited to the extent to which the IRS audits and enforces the federal tax laws against a president. And I would say, as I've said from day one, if the IRS doesn't have a problem with his tax returns, what am I going to find, in them? Whether he releases them or not, the IRS has seen them, and they're the deciding thing. I'm pretty sure they didn't give him a Motel 6 audit. I think he gets a Four Seasons audit. Probably. And also the president and vice president are audited every year they're in office. They have to produce every year their sources of income under perjury of law. So I don't know. It's
the fascinating thing here is American voters have a very short memory. And they forget that the last Congress was Republican control. And couldn't do anything about the Mueller investigation because the president didn't want to, because he knew he was innocent. And now the Democrats take over and all this stuff is happening. So it's like the American people are going, these people are wasting our time. They've been wasting our time for 2 years. But it's really the Democrats' timing is so bad. It's unbelievable.
Well, the other thing they were talking about is on the campaign trail that nobody's really asking any candidates about Mueller report or anything. They're more interested in, jobs and, our markets and, the stability of the nation. They got way more important things. Immigration, for one, even the New York Times and the Washington Post are now calling for the wall. Give them the money.
Yeah,
we got a problem down there. Give them the money. And polls now have Trump with a better approval rating than Obama did in the second year of his presidency. Yep,
So
that's the report. All right, we'll be right back after these important words. 10 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, May 8, 2019, 44 degrees outside. Shane Tobin is online with us. I almost said will join us at 8 o'clock. But Mike McCormick will join us at 8 o'clock with Shane and me, Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. And you're on the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. From our text line, 478-8298, it's astonishing the sins of Democrats that people want to expose and those of Trump they have chose to ignore despite the evidence. The hypocrisy is astounding. Also from our text line, agreeing with GOP Trump policies and the economy is fine when people jump through moral gymnastics to claim he's a moral and honest man. They are embarrassing. And I'm amazed at the mental, emotional, and factual contortions the left will go through to justify their attacks on Trump. So all kinds of views all over the place there, Shane. So
yeah,
we got a lot of things going on there. So yeah, all views are welcome here. Text us at 478-8298. We're happy to read your text on the air. We don't have we have a personal agenda, I guess, but not a political one. Something like that. Anyway, we've got to take another quick break, though, because we ran a little long on that last segment, and we'll be right back. 5 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, May 8, 2019, 45 degrees outside. Good morning, everyone. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. Shaman Tobin, half man, half amazing, in Vancouver, British Columbia, and happy to have him along with us. And Mike McCormick is going to join us at 8 o'clock, so stay tuned for that, and we'll have some fun with him. Let's see, from our text line, 478-8298, Trump and Hillary are proof that Republicans and Democrats see and believe with blinders on and see what they want to see in their tribe. It's sad. So there you are.
So I want to jump on the second thing about you need to know today because of executive privilege. Separation of powers was first written about as a political doctrine by Charles de Secondat, Baron of Montesquieu, in the spirit of the laws in France, which was followed up by the decision in 1974 by Chief Justice Berger in the majority ruling of U.S. versus Nixon regarding his tapes. I want to read this for all of you because you're going to hear a lot about executive privilege, and then we'll go on to anything else we can. But this is an important thing of what Berger wrote about executive privilege. Quote, whatever the nature of the privilege of confidentiality of presidential communications in the exercise of Act 2 powers, the privilege can be said to derive from the supremacy of each branch within its own assigned area of constitutional duties. Certain powers and privileges flow from one nature of enumerated powers. The protection of the confidentiality of presidential communications has similar constitutional underpinnings. So there you go, folks. There's written by a liberal Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, who, remember, set out the privilege of warrants and the fruit from the forbidden tree.
Poisonous tree, yeah.
That's right. So there you go. If anyone asks you about executive privilege, already established by the Supreme Court in 1974.
Okay. Let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, thanks for waiting. You're on the air. What's up?
Hey, Tom, you wanted to know why they wanted Mueller there?
Oh, to testify.
Right.
Yeah.
There's two reasons they want Mueller to testify. One, they want him to elaborate on giving them the authority to impeach, right? Because that's what a lot of the leftists think, is that he essentially left impeachment open because of the obstruction. And the other thing that they want him up there for is they can rattle, it's putting meat back on the bones of their base, gives them something to gnaw on, and keeps them ginned up. Because everybody says that Trump wants them to impeach so that because it'll solidify his base. Well, the reverse is true for their base as well. Right?
Yeah, I wrote a blog on it that Trump is now a victim because they've got their proof. Mueller, the gold standard, says nothing happened, and now that makes Trump a victim if they keep going after him, and that solidifies his base and saying, look, there's no proof here, so move on. And
it's a bad move on the Democrats. Here's why. One question. Every Republican is going to force Mueller to tell them when he knew. When did you know there was no involvement or collusion? And if it turns out that it was like a year ago, which it was like within 6 months of him doing this, he knew.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah. Let's take another call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Yeah, just a reply or a reply to one of the commercials you guys have on your air about having guns in safes.
Yeah.
And my reply is a gun will not keep you safe in a safe.
Well, that's probably true.
That. So, thank you.
Okay, thanks for the call. Yeah, as Shane will tell you, in Canada, you got to keep the trigger in one room and something else in the other room, and everywhere else. So it doesn't work.
It doesn't work otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So All right. Well, hey, the aforementioned Mike McCormick just ducked in here, so we'll be talking with him and Shane and myself. We're going to talk about the roller coaster market is going on, and oh, brother, it's going pretty well, I guess, out there. So. So Mikey is going to give us the true status of everything that's happening in the world of money here any moment now, right?
Stay tuned. The truth, nothing but
the truth.
and of course, forecasting the future.
That's right. All right. Well, see, you don't have to be accurate in forecasting the future. That's that's a good thing. All right, Shane and I and Mike will be right back, so stay tuned. And the aforementioned Mike McCormick is in the house. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. Thanks, Tom. It's great to be here. Happy Wednesday of springness.
Yeah. Shane Tobin on the line with me from Vancouver, BC. Half man, half amazing. Is there a comment when needed?
Hello, Michael. Good to have you in the house there, buddy. We got lots to talk about.
Oh my gosh, we do. Shane, it's great to hear your voice. Happy Wednesday to you. Hump day.
Hump day.
Yeah,
Mike. What day is it? Mike.
I would love to have a day.
Yeah.
Might as well be Wednesday.
Might as well be Wednesday.
I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right. Well, where should we start, right,
Well,
Shane? I mean, and Tom, this is your show, actually, isn't it?
Well, let's start with some text messages to get those out of the way, and then we'll move on to the markets. 478-8298. It's my understanding that Attorney General Barr was never subpoenaed by Congress, and now Congress is holding a vote to hold him in contempt. How's that possible? Well, he was asked to testify, and he did. And they wanted to bring him back to be questioned by attorneys of the staff, since the elected officials have no clue what to ask. The attorneys could probably pull out something in that is non-toward or whatever. Let's see. So it seems Trump's history of losing money is why he's embarrassed to show his tax returns. He lost over $1 billion. Great businessman. Well, I think Mike and Shane and I will all tell you that we want as little money on our tax return as possible. A tax return is not where you show off how much you're making.
So, and he did come back and is a billionaire now.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, all you got to do is look at the Forbes 500 list, and there he is. Now, he's dropped about 100 points, I think, since he became president, or 100 spots, but still in the billionaire status. But Mueller report proves Trump obstructed justice. I missed that part. and if not, the President of the United States would be indicted. The office of President of the United States has some nice perks. So... Trump lost $1 billion, and he's still a multi-billionaire. Awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't think Mike would turn him down as a client. Would you, Mike?
No.
Yeah, probably not.
But losing that much money is also a bit of a red flag, too. That makes for a tricky client to manage, right?
That's it. Okay. Also, we had on the text line, gold, silver, buy it or not buy it. What do you think, Mike and Shane? Mike first?
Me first. It's been broken for 5 years. At some point, that will stop. And silver especially is horrendously undervalued. It would appear compared to any inflation metric. But inflation is still not on the horizon. And we've got more to talk about. But Japan started this trend of no growth, no inflation, no matter what you do, and Europe's taken a page from it. If this is contagious, I wouldn't go all in, that's for sure, because there's no indication that it is working. There's no indication of inflation right now. Yes, there's volatility. Yes, there's scary stuff, but it's not working. Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm a contrarian too. When something's not working, that's a great time to go in. Nobody else is talking about going in.
Well, I think go ahead, Shane. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say my position is the same as it has been for 10 years. Gold's at $12.86 today, silver $15.85. And if you're a conspiracy theorist about all the issues around the economy and everything, we've always suggested, never advised, suggested, the choice would be silver because you can buy coins and hard cash. And if something were to go terribly wrong, it would have the largest leverage gain. So no matter how well gold would go, silver would reflect it 10 times.
Right.
So that's my position.
And I'll go one step further too. Is that, let's say you're not a self-described conspiracy theorist. Few people would define themselves as that. But if you're wanting to be contrarian, if you are really concerned about the financial markets and want to protect yourself, broaden your commodity basket so it includes some oil, other precious metals, grains, things like that, because they've all been in the tank, and they all will be a store of wealth. It's just hard to say which one's going to be the right lever.
Yeah, I would agree with Shane's position there. Even gold coins, if you have the right ones, they're collectibles. So sometimes the collectible value will override a drop in the market on the actual.
All it really does
value.
is help you cover the transaction cost if
Pretty
you got
much,
a little
yeah.
extra.
I was going to say, it's not much more than that,
Right.
because
unless it's truly unique.
But, I always have to ask the question, why do you want my non-appreciating dollars for your appreciating asset?
It is a lump of useless yellow metal, too. That's always a tough one.
It's sitting there on the counter as a lump until somebody wants to buy it.
But it does wonderful things because it's illiquid. You don't spend it.
No.
It is a store of wealth.
You stay,
and
it stays there.
There's plenty of people that it's worked for, so we're not going to discard it.
But seldom do you sell it for more than you bought it for.
At least in the last 5 years, that's for darn sure.
I was going to say, it's and silver too. Silver's staggered around 16.
And then, like Shane said, it's just a magnifier of gold, pretty much.
Well,
and coin collecting is a great hobby for retared people.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah. No,
those card counting, and you can make more money.
Yeah, well, there you are.
What else we got? Anything?
Buy that gold house. That's what you need to do.
Well, Mike, I have a topic I want you to talk to because I think it's real important. That's Uber's. IPO on Friday. Boy, for me, there's lots of comments on this, but let's get started and maybe spend 5 minutes talking about Uber because it's a real important thing with the overall market and IPOs this year.
Yep.
It's a huge thing, and we haven't had IPOs in a while. There was a dearth of them. Statistically and functionally, and now we're back to where they're feeling like it's safe to come out. And so again, just for the home gamers out there, an IPO is really designed for a way to do two things for a company so that they can grow and attract more capital because they're going from, think of it as a friends and family and insiders, and maybe they have a larger network of people, and now they're going to the global marketplace. And so they have access to huge amounts of capital so that they can grow. And the other one is that it allows people that were initial investors ways to get out, and they get out for a good multiple. So a typical private company multiple might be 10 times, and a typical public company or multiple might be less. Might be 20 times for something like this. In the case of Uber, where we're having questionable growth, we're having concerns about what their net earnings are. We're having concerns about where their revenues are going to come from. However, it's ubiquitous and it's here to stay and it's being used. They can work out some of these other monetary things. Their advisors, Morgan Stanley, I believe, are the lead ones on this, and they're trying to say, hey, here's a price that the market will bear for this. And it is a pure auction. When this thing comes out, it is a pure, beautiful, free market enterprise of supply and demand. And people are right now saying, I would like to get some of that. And if you're a good client with Morgan Stanley or one of the other underwriters, you can get an allotment for it, but they won't tell you the price you're going to get it for on Friday when this IPO comes out. They'll give you a range.
Right.
And they'll just say, how much do you want to buy? Well, I got $3,000 or $30,000 or whatever. These are typically, people that can afford to risk some capital. And as we saw with the recent IPO of Lyft, these numbers can move around a lot. What was it? And I'm sorry, I didn't come prepared for this one, Shane. What was the IPO that just happened the other week that was hugely undervalued? It popped by 150% that happened 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I don't know.
I'll research that one while we're talking.
Yeah.
But there's incredible upside opportunity, and there's incredible downside opportunity on these, and it's just another vote of confidence for the market how this is received. This is new technology. There's litigation concerns. There's unionizing concerns. There's concerns about self-driving cars and all these things. But this is it. This is here to stay. I think it's going to go very well. I think there's going to be tremendous demand for it. And I think we're seeing that demand coming from old things like Exxon. There's no demand for. There's no demand for good old car companies right now. People want sexy, and Uber is for sure sexy.
Yeah. Well, Lyft came out and they were somewhat undervalued, I think, to a certain extent. They came out with a pretty low price, as I remember.
That was the one that I was talking about.
Okay,
I just didn't want to hang that. So they came out and they undervalued their. They came out with a number, and then if you were an initial investor with Lyft, you were watching the stock price. Somebody would buy your shares on the open market, and then it would subsequently go up dramatically. And you'd say, wait a minute, I didn't get to make all that extra money there that I thought. And so the underwriters get really into thumb screws for that because it's their job to get as much value as they can for the original investors. And that's one of the reasons why this Uber is so interesting because they're going to be pushing the price up high. And it could go the other way on them. Yeah. Well, the big difference between Lyft and Uber is that Lyft is pretty much USA. Uber's worldwide. And they're also going into things like Uber Eats, and they're delivering food, and they're going into a bunch of other things. So, but let's take a phone call. 522 Talk is the number. Caller, thanks for waiting. You're on the air with Mike McCormick. What's up? Okay. Well,
I'm going to play the devil's advocate.
Go for it.
Please, yeah.
So Uber's 10 years old. What does that mean? Well, that means every investor that started with the beginning of the company is now eligible to sell their stock because you have to hold stock for 2 years, and that's why they wait for a company to mature, and then all these first guys in and first out. Problem with that is that Uber is authorized to issue 752 million shares. They have 293 million shares now issued. So they're able to issue 459 million share, folks, and they're doing 180 million share IPO at $44 to $54. What do you need to know about that? Well, the problem is with Uber as a company, 1.8 billion in losses last year. Management of the company, they don't have any problem with losses. They expect continued losses for some time. They generate their revenue from their drivers, and an average driver right now is making around $15.03 an hour, and that's after expenses, $18.65 before expenses, and of course Uber is taking 21% of each rate that they take, and expected to raise it to 22.3% with their SEC filing for this underwriting. So they have an interesting situation. They've got 22,263 employees, 11,000 outside the United States. So wait a week before you make a decision is my advice.
Well, certainly if you look at Lyft's stock price since their initial pop, yes, that is also the great advice. There's no reason for anybody to participate in IPOs unless you've got a really
unless you got an inside
right.
something. Yeah.
Right.
All right, we got to take a quick break. The last commercial will be Noxatril, so act accordingly. We'll be back in, let's see, how quick will we be back? And I can tell you what that last commercial is a minute, so a minute, 90 seconds. You can turn the radio down if you don't want to hear the Noxatril. We'll be right back right after this. 22 minutes after the hour of 8 a.m. It's Wednesday, May 8, 2019, 48 degrees outside. Shane Taubman, half man, half amazing in Vancouver, BC. Mike McCormick at the microphone here on the Saturday Morning Soapbox.
It just feels like a Saturday.
It feels like a Saturday, doesn't it? Right. I want it to be Saturday.
Easy like a Saturday morning.
And Tommy Goff, your morning mayor in the house who has no clue where he is or what he's doing. So
takes a village here this morning. Hey, I wanted to correct myself. I appreciate these live, just a testament to the real-time questions here.
That's right.
Lyft did have an IPO this year, of course, and they are suffering. They opened up at a high of $88.60 if you would have bought it at the IPO, and right now you'd be trading it down $54.32, and so that would be a significant loss of 30%, depending how you're doing your math. However, if you would have gone with the Beyond Meat IPO, and this would be Beyond Meat Incorporated, they opened up and they are now up 250% from where they opened.
Yeah.
And so the volatility on these IPOs is fascinating, interesting to watch. And I don't mean to discount anybody that's passionate about statistically you make money in IPOs, but you got to do a lot of them.
Yeah.
You can't just pick and choose. And so Uber is looking at Lyft saying, we better not do that. And they're looking at this Beyond Meat saying, we wish we do that.
Right. Yeah.
How does this going to go? So we'll see. We'll see how it pans out on Friday. There's also rumors that they might postpone their IPO.
Yeah.
Because you want to launch your ship in calm seas, and we do have a bit of an issue happening regarding Chinese negotiations.
Right.
Which I hope we get a chance to visit about, because it's really fascinating. It's affecting global markets. It's got every trader out there keyed up, making bets, big money.
Yeah. For the benefit of our listeners, IPOs are initial public offerings. There where a stock decides to go public and sell on the public exchanges. So
right.
Just so everybody knows. My investments are tanking thanks to trade wars. Americans are now paying more in taxes. Is this what winning looks like? What are you telling your folks? Obviously, our Facebook stock, you own it, I own it, went down about $10 or so. It was up at 198. Now it's about 178 or somewhere in that neighborhood. Let me look. It is at 189 right now, but it was at 198 middle of the week.
And I'll get to the gist of the comment is, if you own a diversified portfolio, you have not been making all the money.
Yeah.
And ever since Trump came along, the game has been U.S. stocks, U.S. stocks, U.S. stocks, U.S. stocks. And yes, it's been a ride. It has not been a smooth ride. But if you want the best gains, it's been in U.S. stocks. And as a trained advisor, we say, well, the U.S. is an important part of it's the most important player in the world, but it's not the only player out there. And when we try and diversify things, we try and put together a gift basket of a lot of different things. And so you probably own some international stocks in there as well. They have not been performing. And if you look at performance, I just had a client the other day, and performance year to date, 4% after fees. I looked at lots of different portfolios. You might get 5%, you might get 3%. This is after fees again for a diversified portfolio. Yeah. That's kind of where we are, but it's easy to find the S&P 500 beyond that and say, well, what is the point of investing in companies outside of the U.S.? And especially when we're looking at what Europe is becoming right now. We had a question about the Brexit issue out there, and we've got these trade negotiation concerns. I can see that there's there's going to be some nationalistic sentiment that's going to come into people's investments and say, I'll take the lack of diversification that comes from not betting on other countries if it means that I might be able to understand it better, I guess, sort of thing.
Well, for the year, though, the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P are all up. Well, from the first of the year.
They're up hugely, but that's because Christmas Eve was
so bad.
Was a major correction. And so we're just seeing right now, we're just seeing another retest of our valuation. What's been happening is that earnings have not been growing that much. Earnings expectations have been coming back. So companies are saying, the easy nickels have been picked up. And now we're in a situation where we've got a tight labor force. We got to pay them a bit more. We do have trade concerns. We do have growth concerns. We've got an interest rate environment that's pretty friendly. We've got an incredibly strong consumer, which is the bottom line of it all. But we don't see a lot of growth out there. And so we're seeing companies that are maybe having big gains in their stock price getting pulled back. And we knew that this was coming right now. And I'm going to, which is unusual for me to say. I typically say we have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. But the idea that Trump was going to throw I don't know what the proper term is, some excitement into these negotiations, I think was pretty well expected. I think it's a good play. I think it's the right time. And I'm not sure where I stand on, one of the three outcomes for this Chinese trade negotiation.
Yeah. Well, I think, and we'll go to Shane here in a second, but I think many companies built in these tariffs into their business.
It's cost of business.
But they built them in with an expectation there's going to be an end to it. I'm not sure if we're there yet. What do you think, Shane?
I agree with you, and these new trade routes your president's negotiating, particularly with China, are important not today but 50 years from now, and he's thinking Chinese. In 1995, the Chinese economy saw 12% growth. Went to a high of 14% in 2007. And then with the economic issue from 2007-8, it's dropped now to 6%. So the interesting aspect of all this is, like we're talking about, where are we looking? And the International Monetary Fund says for 2019 they've dropped their growth rate from 3.9% globally to 3.7%. Brexit's going to be an important aspect of all of this, which we'll talk about after the ad.
Yeah. We'll let you finish your thought after that, Shane. And Mike McCormick. Mike McCormick's in the house. Shane and Tom online with me, and Tom Eagle, your morning mayor in the house. And we'll be back with more with Mike and Shane and me right after this.
Stick with us.
23 minutes after the top of the hour, or 23 minutes for the top of the hour, I should say. Right, Shane? I don't know what I'm doing, man. It feels like a Monday.
It does.
Mike McCormick's in the house. Shane Domin on the line from Vancouver, British Columbia. And, one of the questions from our text line, with a global market, forecast the global market after Brexit is settled. And I would say after Brexit is settled, the dominoes of the European Union will begin to fall.
Correct. And banks in Europe will not be a good investment. Back to China real quick. With the saving of China by Bill Clinton in '94 and joining the World Trade Organization because their inflation rate was at 24.2%. China took this great leap forward, and the Democratic Party, of course, allowed the draining of corporations and jobs to China. Their GDP for 2019, folks, is $14.2 trillion estimated. But the biggest problem that they're facing is demographics. The population is 1.4 billion people, and over 50% of those 1.4 are over 65. 700 million people will pass within the next 20 to 30 years in China.
And the rest of them are all young men, right? The one-child rule.
That's right. The rest of them are young men. And so you've got a 400 million middle class in China that will try to sustain the country in the next 50 years. But that's what Trump's looking at and realizing the United States will still outweigh them. And that's why this is a political policy that's of importance economically for the United States in the next 50 years.
Yeah.
I like it. I just like to add some economic perspective here as a trained economist, non-practicing, just armchair, right? The U.S., we had our recession, we had low interest rates, and we had some monetary easing, but we haven't had fiscal stimulus, really. We haven't had the government spending money on infrastructure, is the typical thing. And so we still have that cannon ready to go. It would create some strains on the budget, but that's one of the things that we're throwing around on how we can get this late stage growth to go. And we still have that chip to play. China, they led with incredible fiscal stimulus where they spent money on building everything, buying up all the commodities. They still can manipulate their currency, of course, up until the end of the time, but they're running out of straws. And combined with the demographic problems that Shane's mentioned, I'm not counting him out. I'm not discounting him. But again, I do think that Trump is looking, surprisingly, a politician is looking long term right now. And it might hurt in the near term. We might end up with these 25% tariffs going up on Friday. We might have Uber postponed. We might have Brexit. A hard Brexit, I think, would be a real hit for international economy for a long time. I think it's an obvious one that Britain should probably turn tail and renege on that one and be part of the team. But that's just in a big scope thing of where I think we sit from an economic perspective and why I'm confident that we'll continue to, Trump's going to continue to poke this fire of the negotiations for a while. We're not going to have an agreement on Friday.
Well, I don't think so either. The intellectual property is the real stumbling block.
Sure, they've been stealing our stuff, and we can't
allow that.
We can't participate in their economy except for by their rules, and it's like it's not working for us.
Yeah.
The other thing no one's talking about real quick before we have to break, the EU is having their elections now, and the polls are all right. Like every country in the EU is going right with the Euro congressional representatives. And it's all because of immigration. So that's going to have a huge change on the global economic situation if Europe stops immigration and reverses it, because they are refugees. They have to go home.
Yeah. So there you are. Let's take a quick phone call, then we'll take a break. Caller, you are on the air. Got a question for Mike or Shane or me? What's up?
Yeah, just a quick comment about China. You'd mentioned that 1994 Bill Clinton bailed them out, which kind of was a huge mistake. It seemed like socially they were about to have a revolution and get away from communism, but we kind of infused them as a first nation trade status, and they used that money to oppress the people that were trying to rise up against them. They were the largest human rights violators before 1994. They're still the largest human rights violators today. They've been manipulating their currency. They've been playing with their labor cost rates. They've been stealing technology from us. They've been manipulating our enemies like North Korea and China. And, thank God somebody is finally standing up to them. Because apparently we have a president who isn't a lawyer with a history of politicians. We have a guy from the Wharton School of Business, probably the best business school in the world. And he is making these people pay for how they've been treating us for the first time in history, because we have a politician who doesn't care about getting reelected. He's going to do what's best for the country long term, regardless of whether he gets reelected or not. And I think we as a nation need to look to people like that who are more interested in supporting our nation than getting themselves reelected. So
even Chuck Schumer came out the other day and said, "Hey, I'm with the president on this deal. We got to stand up to these guys." And it's about time.
The Chinese have a 100-year plan of world domination, and part of that plan, guys, is a bayonet to the belly of every American citizen staring into their cell phone instead of paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah,
so we need to wake up to what's truly going on.
Yeah, if China won't do it, the Muslims will. So.
Well, when you can send 100 million people and not even feel a pinch of it over to invade a country, you're kind of a threat to the world. And when you're the largest human rights violator in the planet, and you're playing these games, I don't know, man. Let's not look at them as a fun, friendly business partner. Let's look at them as the adversary we are and try to control them through business rather than let them run away with it.
There you go.
Take
hey,
care.
Thanks a lot for the call. All right, appreciate it. We'll be right back. 14 minutes for the top of the hour. Shaman Dobbin on the line with me from Vancouver, BC. Half man, half amazing. My tremendous co-host. And Mike McCormick, Financial Advisors, is in the house. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor. And from our text line, let's see. I think Trump lost his monsoon in Atlantic City when most there lost their shirts as well. Every developer has a win-lose column. It's the price of risk-reward. And we've had flawed people from both parties run for office all the time. That is why it's best to look at policy and how they get things done rather than based on personalities and who is better looking or whatever. So I would tend to agree with that. Results are what I look for anyway, and I think most of us do.
I certainly do. I was disappointed to read certainly an inflammatory and one-sided headline in the local paper this morning about how the county doesn't want to meet with the city on certain things that the county feels like
we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, right. What else do you guys have to do? Why don't you go have coffee?
I was going to say,
maybe something else will happen.
One of you gets the swings, one of you gets the sandbox, and then you trade. You trade.
Yes, again, the headline is...
Everybody share the slide.
That's right. Everybody shares the slide. So that's right.
Give us somebody to model after there.
I know. Well, I don't know. I can see with the counties a little miffed because the county and the city agreed to get out of... Or the county agreed to get out of when the city put the city safety building on the ballot.
Yeah.
They said, okay, we won't put our Law and Justice Center up there against you.
Right.
And then they turn around and come back, and the county puts the Law and Justice Center up, and the city turns around and puts a $200 slam of a park tax on on the same ballot.
Right. No, I'm not saying who's in the right or who's not in the right, but you don't want a headline that says that, you're not willing to be the one that goes talk.
Yeah. Well,
goes to the park.
I don't know. The city says they want to talk, but I don't know. Their actions are.
They just want to talk about their things. Well, yeah. I mean, they're opposite sides of the coin.
Well, they are. Yeah.
But there are elections coming.
Yeah.
And the election of Scott McFarland is a clear indication as to how the county is changing, evolving with the new people that are moving into town. And if I was Skinner or Seifert, I'd be, deciding if I want to have another seat or not, because the people. Anyway, I don't need to get into politics. Can we talk money?
Sure, let's talk money.
Yeah.
Can we talk money?
Well, you started it.
I know I did.
Mike.
Yes.
Look, the biggest trading equity in the world, as we know right now, is currencies, because commodities are in the ditch, and government bonds aren't doing that well. So, I think that the euro will go part of the U.S. dollar if Brexit happens. What's your thoughts?
I agree. I think that I'm planning a trip not this summer but next summer to Europe, and it's just going to be awesome. There's going to be sales happening everywhere. So I think that it's a mess. I don't think the economic superpower of Germany, and to some degree, I mean, there's been companies in France that have been successful all the way through all the socialistic moves they've been having. There are good, solid money-making companies there. There's assets that go back to colonial times that are still providing money. Even, I mean, the North Slope that's dying a bit, but there's new fields out there that they can find. So we will never stop talking about Europe in the context that we have been. But it's interesting when we talk about this Chinese potential weakness with demographics and potential trade imbalance being resolved, and we talk about this Brexit thing. Boy, it's hard to just not say USA. Why do I need to be diversified into that? Is something that I'm looking deep into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most portfolios that I manage they have a 20% allocation international, and I favor emerging markets, whether it's China or India or Russia or Brazil, just because the opportunity is so huge. You've got people that are still plowing fields in their bare feet with ox right next to somebody that just got their very first car or cell phone or apartment or whatever. I mean, it's that level of productivity opportunity that really can make some outsized gains. Whereas here in the U.S., we are looking at growth concerns. We don't have a whole lot more upside to go other than this technological advancement that we're seeing.
Yeah. All right, let's take one more phone call, and we got to take a break. Caller, you are on the air with Mike McCormick and Tom and Shane. What's up?
Yeah, hi. Dovetailing into this European thing, you guys are kind of stopping right there at Europe having their troubles. If they have problems, then whatever they're experiencing financially, I would think that it's going to hit our shores too. And so, Mike, your visit next summer might be canceled because things are dire here. What do you guys think about that?
It's a global economy. We've talked about that. Certainly, great point. So it is to the point where if the U.S. gets a cold, everybody gets the sniffles. We're still there, right?
Yeah.
I think that we're all in agreement there. The question is that if Europe gets influenza, what's our symptoms? Mm-hmm. What are we really going to feel on that?
Yeah.
We
rely on a global market.
We rely on a global market.
We make way more than we can consume, so that's our issue there. I think it all comes down to when you say the strength of the dollar overseas. If our products are cheaper overseas because of some situation there, that's good for us. But if the dollar becomes prohibitive, as Shane will point out, 30% less to go to Canada.
Yeah, well,
right. I mean, what's our exports to Europe?
Yeah.
And I would bet that they're not that great right now, meaning not that big value. That would be the biggest thing that would suffer.
Well, like I say, oil and gas, I think, are our biggest exports probably. I would think, Shane.
And so as our dollar strengthens, everybody else's goods get less expensive, and we'll start buying goods out of Europe maybe.
Well, that's entirely possible. So it's kind of a two-way street. Which way are the boats going to go?
And our financial markets, I think, have done a pretty good job of segregating. They might still be buying our leveraged collateral loans, but I don't think we're buying theirs.
Yeah. We got to take a break. Rush update coming up. So here's Rush. 2.5 minutes before the top of the hour, Shane. We're just about done here. So Mike McCormick went ahead, and he's got to go make money for somebody. So we thank him for being here with us this morning. And, as we were finishing up, one of the questions we had, wouldn't an open market, no tariffs on either side, create competition and lower prices in the long term? Well, they would. Normally, tariffs protect us. We have 4 tariffs. We've got tariffs on paper clips, tuna, tobacco, and sneakers. Those are our...
And pickup trucks.
And pickup trucks, yeah. So those are our four. So we want to protect our, local people, obviously, but in the long run, of course. I'll give you an example. Harley Davidson paid 100% tariff to go to India, and there they are. They lowered that to 50%, but it still makes Harley Davidson motorcycles prohibitive to the rank and file guy in it becomes a premium motorcycle, not a competitive motorcycle, and that's where we run into the problems of as long as an American spatula is 99 cents and a Chinese spatula is 99 cents, and we're in full agreement, but and that's what tariffs do. They kind of adjust that price so that American spatulas can also make, if you think the Chinese spatula is better, then buy it for the 99 cents, or if you think the American's better, buy that one for 99 cents. So that's kind of where we are there, and that's why tariffs are out there, because I think paper clips, I think China can produce them a heck of a lot cheaper than we can. I don't know. But anyway.
Well, Mayor, but before I say goodbye, I want everyone to know while we're talking, the euro broke 112. It's now trading at 111. So look forward to talking to you tomorrow morning. Thank you, everyone, Mike included, for being in, calling, and joining in. And once again, everyone, enjoy spring. Be happy, be safe.
All right. Thanks, Shane. All right. That does it for us. We'll see everybody again bright and early tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Enjoy the nice weather, and we'll see you then.